Yo, what's up? Dr. Swole here, MD, pro physique athlete. Today I'm going to be sharing my full hypertrophy program. I'm currently using a 4-day full body setup. This is a modified full body split, and I'm going to be explaining some of the changes that I've been making to the program. My programming is very dynamic, and I've been playing around with some variables. So this is quite different from the last program that you saw me update. We'll start off with a program walkthrough where I'll share everything you'll need to know to run the program yourself, including exercises, sets, and reps. Keep in mind that this is a very personalized program for myself, so I don't expect you to actually be running this out of the box. You could potentially make some changes to run a similar setup yourself though. Then we'll talk about the weekly layout or how to spread out the workouts across the week. And finally, we'll go over the pros and cons of my personal 4-day full body program. Alright, let's do our program walkthrough. This is Dr. Swole's personal 4-day full body program. It is a moderate volume program, and it's what I've currently been following as of January 2024. We've got day 1, day 2, day 3, and day 4. This is a modified full body setup. Here are the exercises, and there are the sets and reps. Down here we have the total number of sets for each workout to give you an idea of workout length, and down here we have the total number of sets for each muscle group each week. Let's get started. We have day 1, deadlifts. These are for the glutes and hamstrings. I'm doing 2 sets, and I'm using a top set back off method here. So I'll work up to 1 top heavy set of 5 to 8 reps, followed by a back off set of 6 to 10 reps with 10% lighter weight. I've been enjoying this setup because it allows me to put in some strength work while still accumulating some volume afterwards. I focus on the top set to really get in some quality, and then for the back off set, I don't worry too much about the performance as long as my top set is progressing. Then we have dumbbell bench press for the chest, 2 sets of 6 to 10. After that, close grip, reverse grip pull downs, 3 sets of 10 to 15. These are for the lats. Then we have dumbbell lateral raises for the side delts, 4 sets of 8 to 15. And then cable curls for the biceps, 3 sets of 10 to 15. I'm currently using blood flow restriction training for my cable curls. Then we have day 2. We start off with Smith machine split squats for the quads and the glutes and hamstrings, 2 sets of 8 to 15, and that's 8 to 15 reps on each leg. These are basically like a standing lunge in the Smith machine. And I like it because it really allows you to piston up and down and really push each side hard. Then we have chest supported rows for the back, 3 sets of 8 to 15. Then we have machine fly for the chest, 2 sets of 8 to 15. After that, cable upright rows for the side delts, but also the traps, 4 sets of 10 to 20. Then we have close grip floor presses, which mainly hit the triceps, but also the chest, 3 sets of 6 to 15. Floor presses are an interesting accessory movement for the bench press. I'll use them sometimes because the lockout portion of the lift emphasizes the triceps, but keep in mind that since you are cutting down the range of motion on these, I wouldn't make these the main movement. Then we have machine preacher curls for the biceps, 3 sets of 12 to 20. And finally, machine calf raises for the calves. And I've been using a mile rep scheme here. So I'll work up to 1 main set of 10 to 20 reps, followed by 7 mini sets of 3 to 5 reps with about 10 seconds in between. And I approximate this as 5 straight sets. I backed off on calf volume because I was getting Achilles tendonitis, and this drop in volume has been better. Going on to day 3, we start off with weighted dips, and this is my main movement for the chest and triceps. 1 set of 5 to 8 reps. I'm really happy with the progress I've made on these. In my last muscle cycle, I hit a PR of 4 reps with 130 pounds. That being said, heavy weighted dips do stress out my pec tendons, and this is starting to become a problem. So I'm planning to swap out this exercise as well as my machine flies for my next muscle cycle. A lot of the training variations that you'll see me implementing are to work around chronic injuries, and particularly tendonitis for me. So keep in mind that varying exercises and rep ranges is a very powerful way to work around injuries. Then we have the Dr. Swole pull down, which is a pull down that I came up with where you're actually sitting on the ground next to the cable stack. And the key is to angle your body about 45 degrees from the line of pull. I like this exercise because it gives me a lot of control on the angle that I'm pulling down at. And this allows me to really focus on targeting my lats and getting a good stretch and minimizing the activation of biceps. Then we have leg extensions for the quads, 2 sets of 12 to 20. After that, lying leg curls for the hamstrings, 2 sets of 6 to 15. Then we have machine bench presses for the chest, 2 sets of 8 to 15. You'll see that I have a lot of exercises with just 2 sets for each exercise. I find this works well for me because for a lot of exercises, I will actually lose performance on my 3rd or 4th sets, which is probably just due to local fatigue from that specific exercise pattern. So the first 2 or 3 sets are the most efficient for me. Then we have dumbbell lateral raises for the side delts, 4 sets of 8 to 15. I've basically just been progressing my lateral raises with a double progression method, just trying to add reps when I can. Then we have lying bicep curls for the biceps, 3 sets of 6 to 15. And these are like an incline curl, except your bench is set all the way flat. Going on to day 4, we start off with machine overhead press which mainly hits the anterior delts, but also gets a bit of triceps and upper pecs, 2 sets of 6 to 10. I've swapped these in for dumbbell overhead presses because I've been getting some shoulder impingement. Then we have single arm dumbbell rows for the back, 3 sets of 6 to 10. These were my all-time favorite back exercise when I started out as a beginner. The problem is it's hard to find heavy dumbbells in your gym. I'm planning to just add reps to these as I get stronger and see how it goes. Then we have hack squats for the quads, 2 sets of 10-15. Then we have hack squat calf raises. I just fixed a typo here. Depending on the hack squat machine you have, you can also do calf raises in the hack squat machine. So I work up to one main set of 10 to 20 reps followed by 7 mini sets of 3 to 5 reps. So also my rep scheme here, and I'm approximating this as 5 sets. Then we have cable lateral raises for the side delts, 4 sets of 8 to 15, and finally easy bar skull crushers for the triceps, 3 sets of 6 to 12. A couple of notes about this program. First of all, day 1 is relatively short looking at the number of sets, and this is because deadlifts are by far the most fatiguing exercise for me, and they also take more time to warm up to. You'll see that I've increased the volume for some muscle groups compared to my last program. Before I was using a very low volume program, but I found that the low volumes weren't optimal for me for all muscle groups. So you'll see that I've kept the volume low for quads, glutes and hamstrings, triceps, but I've increased the volume for my upper body. Looking at our frequencies here, quads are getting trained 3 times per week, glutes and hamstrings are getting trained 3 times per week, chest is getting trained 3 times per week, back is getting trained every workout 4 times per week, same with side delts 4 times per week. Then biceps are getting trained 3 times per week, triceps are getting trained 3 times per week, and calves are getting trained twice per week. Okay, now that you've seen the program, let's talk about the program layout. So here's my preferred setup of days. Day 1, rest. Day 2, rest. Day 3, day 4, and rest. First of all, setting up full body programs is relatively simple since you just want to spread out the rest days as much as possible. And this allows you to get the most out of each rest day. That being said, as you saw, this is a modified full body split. That means that not every muscle group is trained with every workout. As you saw, I typically have a 3 to 4 times per week frequency for most muscle groups. When I'm building a modified full body split, I'm ultimately trying to optimize the programs for each muscle group independently. So every muscle group has its own little agenda that's running throughout the week. And this means that the days actually have a specific order that I like to keep in mind. In particular, day 1 is my priority day because it has deadlifts and dumbbell bench presses, which are both top priority movements for me. And thus I place it early in the week where it's flanked by rest days. In this program, you'll see that chest, biceps, and hamstrings get trained directly on days 1, 2, and 3. This means that I'm able to spread out the training for these muscle groups evenly across the week and have rest days separating them. You'll find out that certain muscle groups for you get more sore and more fatigued than others, and you might want to employ this kind of strategy for those muscle groups. Okay, now let's talk about the pros and cons of my personal 4-day full body program. First of all, this program has maximum customizability, and this is what I really like about the modified full body setup. Once you establish that you can customize the frequencies for each muscle group, you have a lot of power in terms of controlling your programming setup. For example, in this program, I can very precisely control the volumes for each muscle group, and I can simply do this by adding sets or even exercises and spreading them out throughout the week. In this program, you'll see that I'm doing more volume for my upper body, and this is because I found that my lower body still responds well to low volumes. And in fact, I was getting tendonitis in my quad tendons from a lot of quad training. So this setup allows me to put in the volume that I need, particularly for muscle groups like the back and side delts. If I were to do something like an upper lower split in this program, upper body days would be much longer than lower body days. Next, the full body setup is highly flexible. If you are comfortable with auto-regulation, you will be able to move workouts around the week very easily, and this is important to me because I live a pretty unpredictable life and I need to be able to move exercises around on the fly. Keep in mind that there are some caveats to this. As you saw, this program is still pretty specifically designed for a specific order of days. So for example, I do try not to have a workout come before my day 1, which has deadlifts on it, but I do occasionally move workouts around. Next, this program has excellent fatigue distribution. Fatigue distribution is how well you spread out your training stress across the week. And for me as an advanced athlete, this is very important because fatigue really affects my performance on different lifts. So if I had a lopsided program, say a bro split, or I had a massive leg day and then an arm day, I'd be much more fatigued on that leg day, and I wouldn't perform as well on the later leg movements, and probably not as well in the workout coming after that either. Fatigue distribution becomes more and more important for more advanced athletes, and this is why I really like this full body setup for more advanced trainees. Finally, this program features a high frequency for all muscle groups of 3 to 4 times per week. As you saw, calves are an exception to this, but this is because I'm dealing with some injuries. The power of higher frequency is that it serves as a vehicle for higher volumes for the muscle groups that need it. For me in particular, my side delts require fairly high volumes, and this allows me to spread out more productive volume across those workouts. Also, even with lower volumes, I still find that I perform better when I spread out my volumes across more days. So this higher frequency approach actually allows me to perform better on every set when you look across the whole week. Okay, finally, let's go through the disadvantages of my full body program. First of all, this program requires auto-regulation. When you're training with high frequencies, you are going to have overlapping soreness at some point, and you have to be able to modify your workouts on the fly to account for this. Sometimes this will require changing the rep scheme or even changing the exercise. If you're not able to auto-regulate properly, you may end up overdoing things, and when you train through soreness a lot, at some point you may end up with chronic overuse injuries. So I would not recommend this type of program to a beginner. Next, this program does require more time spent warming up for each muscle group. As you saw, for some muscle groups on some days, I might only do 2 sets for that muscle group on that day. This means that I would have to warm up that muscle group de novo each day. That being said, this isn't that much of a problem depending on the exercises you're using. For big, heavy compound movements like squats, deadlifts, and bench presses, you require quite a bit of warm-up. But more machine and isolation type work doesn't actually require a lot of warm-up. Even just 2 or 3 warm sets for that specific exercise is usually enough for me. Finally, this program is not as focused on each muscle group. This is a mental focus thing where some people just really like having, say, a chest day, or really like having an upper body day or a pull day, and they might feel like their efforts are more scattered in a full body program. This is somewhat of a personal preference thing. I don't think it should really affect your hypertrophy results, but if you really hate the idea of having to go to the gym and train a whole bunch of muscle groups in one workout, then this may not be the best approach for you. I will be sharing a copy of this program as an Excel file in my Facebook group. You can find the link to the group in the description below. Join the group and you can download the program for free. If you are an advanced trainee and you really want to optimize your progress, check out my book, Advanced Hypertrophy Periodization, where you go into depth on how to modify your training and diet over long time scales to really optimize progress. You can find the book at my website, askdrswole.com. If you want to see the last program that I was running, check out this video where I share a unique low volume, high intensity program that I was testing out over the winter. Make sure you subscribe to this channel to optimize your physique and your life, and we'll see you next time.